There have been a lot of racist, anti-black occupants of the Oval Office. There have been slaveholders occupy the Oval Office. In the 20th century, I dare say, this man right here, Woodrow Wilson, was the most racist president ever. This is the man who reinstituted segregation in the federal workforce. This is the man right here who screamed the birth of a nation at the White House that led to the rebirth of the KKK. This man was a virulent racist. He was absolutely anti-black. I dare say, since Woodrow Wilson, this man is the most anti-black occupant of the Oval Office. Now, I'm sure some people are watching me and they're sitting there saying, well, Roland, come on. I mean, how can you say that? He appointed one black cabinet member. I mean, how can you say that? He had lots of his black MAGA minions dancing at the White House, happy, gleeful, if they were at the Black History Month reception. I mean, this is the man who, he welcomed Tiger, I rediscovered my blackness, Woods, to the Black History Month reception. So how can you say such things? Well, I base it on what a person does. The moment he gets in, what does he do? Blames DEI, which means black people, for a plane crash at DCA airport that killed 67 people. Y'all notice they got real quiet when it was discovered that all of the pilots were white. I mean, it was as if this thing didn't even happen. Then you look at the various attacks on Black History Month events, things along those lines. Then you see the attacks on equity and inclusion, the firing of people, the ending of offices. We told you last week, the stopping of a lawsuit against a petrochemical company in Louisiana that was alleged to have dumped toxic chemicals in an area known as Cancer Alley. And who are most of those people who are dying earlier than normal? Black people. We told you last week about the closing of the environmental justice offices. These things don't really exist, so why do we have environmental justice? Does it happen? Now we have the military, literally, removing, if you go to the website, removing the images and the stories of African Americans and others who served this country, who gave the blood for this country. This is the website right here. This is, if you go to the website, this is what it now says. They removed these stories. They removed the history of these people. Now they begin to face backlash, and so all of a sudden they're kind of like, oh, we got to fix the problem. Just like, remember when they stopped teaching about the Tuskegee Airmen? Y'all remember that? Trump signed an executive order late Friday that essentially targets 7 governmental entities. He wants to eliminate them, quote, to the maximum extent consistent with applicable law. What's one of those agencies? The Minority Business Development Agency. Do y'all remember? Do y'all remember when he was touting his platinum plan and how amazing it was and how he was going to deliver $500 billion in capital to black businesses, but he gets rid of the Minority Business Development Agency. Military.com had a story that was quite interesting. That, Peter Hegseth, the grossly unqualified Secretary of Defense, what he's doing is he's ordered a review of these workers. And he's ordered some changes to them. And one of them deals with, first of all, I want to give you the name because we had him earlier, the highest ranking black Medal of Honor recipient, this is the headline in military.com. The highest ranking black Medal of Honor recipient erased in Pentagon DEI purge. Major General Charles Rogers, wounded 3 times while fighting off 3 human wave attacks at a fire base in Vietnam. Yep. Goodbye. Remove your information. The story was removed during the auto removal process. Ain't that interesting? So this other story caught my eye that I found to be very interesting, and that is it dealt with the health, the skin. So there were new policies. I just want to show y'all this. And again, I want you to listen. Marines with skin condition affecting mostly black men could now be booted under new policy. A new Marine Corps policy says troops with a genetic skin condition that can cause pain and scarring from shaving and mainly affects black men can be separated if the health issue persists. The interim guidance issued Thursday gives military health care providers 90 days to reevaluate Marines diagnosed with PFB. If they don't recover based on a 4-phase treatment program outlined in the message, have to remain on a shaving waiver for more than a year, and a commander deems it fit, the Corps can administratively separate them, quote, due to incompatibility with service. The directive marks a reversal from a previous Marine Corps policy issued in 2022 that prohibited the service from administratively separating Marines solely based on the condition which is caused when curled hairs grow back into the skin, resulting in inflammation. It also comes at the same time Defense Secretary Peter Hegseth has ordered a military-wide review of standards specifically focused on issues such as shaving waivers and body fat. Listen to this. In cases where a medical condition prevents a Marine from meeting required standards for an extended period of time exceeding 1 year, administrative separation may be considered if it affects long-term service compatibility. Major Jacoby Getty, a spokesperson for the Corps' Manpower and Reserve Affairs, said in an email statement Friday when asked why Marines are no longer exempt from separation due to PFB. However, every effort will be made to support Marines through treatment and recovery before such decisions are considered. Getty emphasized that the new guidance is meant to imbue consistency across medical exemptions and that the service remains, quote, fully committed to supporting Maroons with PFB. Isn't that interesting? That this is the guidance that they are now issuing out. Now, ask yourself this. Just ask yourself this. Does that matter? Thankfully, I've never had that issue of ingrown hairs under there. But we've seen it where literally it creates massive problems for a lot of brothers. But when you look at this decision, when you look at this and you say, what the hell are these people doing? I told y'all in the first week, MAGA wants to defund Black America. This is a perfect example of their desire to completely degrade and de-emphasize Black people. And if you want to understand, and I really, really, really need y'all to pay attention to the language of whiteness. J.D. Vance gave an interview with Laura Ingraham and he was talking about Germany. I want y'all to listen very closely to this white supremacist language. Listen.
I really believe that we have a great deal in common with Europe. And I'm not, yes, the Europeans annoy me sometimes, and yes, I disagree with them on certain issues, but we have to remember that is the cradle of Western civilization. The entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America, that was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements. But I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, but Europe is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable to, or unwilling, too many countries to control their borders. You see them starting to push back against that, and good, that's a good thing. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. So look, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty, and America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
Okay, some of you were not paying attention. So I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to replay it for you. What J.D. Vance just said is, we've got to ensure that Germany remains white. And when these other people are coming in, they are polluting Germany. They are infecting the bloodlines of Germany. Now, with me setting that up, now I want you to listen to what he said with that in mind.
I really believe that we have a great deal in common with Europe. And I'm not, yes, the Europeans annoy me sometimes, and yes, I disagree with them on certain issues, but we have to remember that is the cradle of Western civilization. The entire idea of Christian civilization that led to the founding of the United States of America, that was formed in Europe. The cultural bonds, the religious bonds, these things are going to last beyond political disagreements. But I think that Europe, and frankly, I would have said this about America a year ago, but Europe is at risk, I think, of engaging in civilizational suicide. They are unable to, or unwilling, too many countries to control their borders. You see them starting to push back against that, and good, that's a good thing. You see them starting to limit the free speech of their own citizens, even as those citizens are protesting against things like the border invasion that got Donald Trump and a number of European leaders elected. So look, I want Europe to thrive. I want them to be an important ally. Part of that is going to be Europe respecting its own people, respecting its own sovereignty, and America can't do that job for them. If you have a country like Germany, where you have another few million immigrants come in from countries that are totally culturally incompatible with Germany, then it doesn't matter what I think about Europe. Germany will have killed itself, and I hope they don't do that because I love Germany and I want Germany to thrive.
Culturally incompatible. Today, Trump administration welcomed a man who was found liable for sexual assault. That's fighter Conor McGregor to the White House. He literally spoke from the press secretary's podium. But I want you to listen to what Conor McGregor said, because he sounded strangely like J.D. Vance. Listen.
I'm here to raise the issues that people of Ireland face, and it'll be music to the people of Ireland's ears, because never on the main stage has the issues the people of Ireland face been spoke. You know, our government has long since abandoned the voices of the people of Ireland. And it's high time that America is made aware of what is going on in Ireland. What is going on in Ireland is a travesty. Our government is the government of zero action with zero accountability. You know, our money is being spent on overseas issues that has nothing to do with the Irish people. The illegal immigration racket is running ravage on the country. There are rural towns in Ireland that have been overrun in one swoop, that have become a minority in one swoop. So issues need to be addressed, and the 40 million Irish Americans, as I said, need to hear this, because if not, there will be no place to come home and visit. There's no hotels anymore.
Rural places are being overrun by these immigrants. Does that sound like Haitians eating cats and dogs? See, I know some of you may go, okay, Roland, I think you're taking this a little too far. Okay, really? See, what people don't want to pay attention to is that what you just heard there is what Fox News has been saying for a very long time. You've been listening to these people and lay these things out, and they don't want to confront that. But see, y'all heard me say this before. See, this is the reality of what's going on here. What's happening in Europe is literally what's happening in the United States. White people stopped screwing. They stopped having babies. The death rate of a number of states in the United States right now, the white death rate is higher than the white birth rate. Let me just try to make this as simple as possible for everyone listening. In order for you to continue to have positive GDP, gross domestic product, the American economy is about a $30 trillion economy, okay? You need the replenishment of people in order for you to maintain your GDP. We are far ahead of China in terms of gross domestic product, okay? We're about 12, 13 trillion dollars. Why has China been having an economic problem? Because about 30 years ago, China had something called the one-child rule. They wanted to stem the population. Here's the problem with that. People eventually begin to pass on. So 30 years later, where you should have children, where you should have people who are 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25, essentially replacing people who are 75, 80, 85, 90 who are passing on, China's population began to decrease. They begin to realize, shit, we've got more people dying than people being born. Why? Because of that one-child rule. So what do? Oh, hey, we need y'all to start having babies. And went to a two-child rule. They're now having to play catch-up. Understand what's happening in Ireland. Go to my iPad. Look at this. In 2008, the number of births in Ireland was 75,173. In 2022, it was 54,483. That's 2022. Y'all, that's 21,000 fewer births. So what that means is Ireland is going to be a dying nation unless you replenish the population with people. Well, here's the problem. They're not coming from other white European nations. Why? Because the white European nations are having the exact same problem as Italy. Same problem. Go to my iPad. Germany's birth rate has been declining rapidly, reaching a record low of 1.35 children per woman in 2023. That's a 7% drop from the previous year and an 8% drop from 2022. Look at this here. There's a decline in the number of women aged between 27 and 36 in Eastern Germany, an age group that accounts for the majority of births in the region. Germany's fertility rate has been below the natural replacement level of roughly 2.1 children per woman since 1970. Germany has experienced a natural population decline every year since 1972, but population has increased due to immigration. Now we get to the crux of the issue. The racists in the Trump administration, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Stephen Miller, and others, they despise immigration because they want to maintain the power of whiteness. They want to maintain the purity of whiteness. Donald Trump talked about on the campaign trail, the blood being infected. Well, hell. See, Donald Trump prefers white immigrants. So he wants those white Afrikaners. He wants some white folks from Denmark and Finland. Can we please go bring in some virile, blonde, blue-eyed white people? They despise the fact that there are brown immigrants. They despise that there are immigrants from Venezuela, Colombia, Latin American countries, Bermuda, Jamaica, African countries. They prefer white people. So when you listen to Conor McGregor complain about the indigenous Ireland people, hey, Conor, you can't complain about everybody else. That's your problem. You're the one who was found liable for sexual assault. Anybody trying to have your baby? J.D. Vance is complaining about cultural compatibility. What he's saying is those other people are coming to Germany and they're not like the Germans. Well, excuse me, because here's the problem with Germany. If you don't have immigration, you're screwed. Y'all, what is my book about? It's about white fear, how the browning of America is making white folks lose their minds. That's what the book is about. This is it right here. I literally talk about it in the book. I literally say in the book that what these people have been focused on, when you hear them talk about the great replacement theory, it all comes down to whiteness. They can't stand the fact that there are going to be fewer white people in America. So when you hear them talk about, man, we've got to maintain we got to maintain these things. We have to maintain, how can we got to maintain whiteness. We got to maintain white people being in control. What can we do? It has to be white. And see, I need y'all to understand when you have these Negro MAGA trolls sitting here running their mouths, sounding like pure idiots, they don't even understand that they are doing the job of the white nationalists, the white supremacists. They don't even want to accept it. Here's Sam Cedar. You know how they have these conversations with, it's called Jubilee Media. Listen to this white woman. By the way, she's talking like she's an American. She's not. She's actually an immigrant from Canada. But she's blonde and she's white. Listen to this.
What's the problem with xenophobic nationalism? Don't you think that's better for Americans in general?
To be xenophobic nationalism is better?
We should have a coherent culture. Everyone should be a part of the same culture. We should have assimilation.
Do you get to choose what the culture is?
We already have a dominant culture.
What is
based
the dominant
on
culture?
European and Christian values and identity. That is the dominant culture.
White Christian,
it's rooted in European identity.
So your argument is that
has been the dominant culture.
Just to be
and
clear,
we're not letting people assimilate to that. We're saying you should keep your culture, and this is why our culture is so divided.
Your argument is that that Trump is good for those who want a dominant white European culture.
I mean, that is what America is. It's rooted in European identity and Christian values. That's what it has been. Would you really disagree with that? What is it then, if that's not the identity of America?
Well, I think the identity of America...
The majority of time, America's been a country. You don't think that's been the identity?
Well, actually, no. I think actually the identity of America has been, for better or for worse, a melting pot in that regard.
Yeah, maybe since like the 1960s. Even then, even we had this idea of a melting pot literally means assimilation too. It means melting. It means you're assimilating to the dominant culture. Is that not what melting means?
No, it doesn't.
And now instead we're saying there's something wrong with xenophobia.
Culture. No. I mean, look, I gotta be honest with you, you and I have a fundamental disagreement. We will never see eye to eye on this. It's a choice. And people, I think what you're expressing, though, is really what the Trump movement at its heart is about. And I think that's problematic.
I disagree. I don't think Trump's anywhere close to being a Christian nationalist. That's ridiculous. Trump's basically a Democrat from 15 years ago when it comes to social issues.
So you don't think that he's conservative enough for you?
Oh, definitely. Nowhere close. No.
He's not xenophobic enough for you?
No, he's trying to import a bunch of H-1Bs. Are you kidding?
Right. Oh, so you want to get them out too? Yeah. No, I
literally sounded like J.D. Vance. I just need people to understand, y'all, this is not about the price of eggs. This is not about any of that. This is not about jobs. This is not about manufacturing. And this is why Democrats have struggled, because the problem is when you have the Vice President Kamala Harris, she gave an interview where she talked about this very issue, where she talked about one of the issues she talked about was when we talk about identity politics. White folks don't like talking about this stuff, because what you're doing is you're putting white folks on Front Street. You're forcing them, you're holding a mirror up to say, yeah, like her, oh, the dominant culture, no. So when you assimilate, first of all, baby, when you're a melting pot, as somebody who cooks gumbo, when you start putting other ingredients in, it changes the taste of the roux. It don't taste the same. Spice adds flavor. Miss unseasoned chicken. But I need our people to understand that if you're not framing what is happening right now through the lens of whiteness, of white nationalism, white supremacy, white theocracy, then you're actually missing the entire picture. And the struggle that Democrats have is that when they talk about justice, equality, diversity, equity, and inclusion, these white folks don't want to hear that, because what they hear is, you're taking my job. That Negro got my job. That black woman got my job. That Latina got my job, because they actually believe that they're smarter, they're better, and that everything is designed for them. And the rest of us non-white people, we're supposed to accept the scraps and be happy. We're supposed to call a crumb a meal. J.D. Vance is saying, Germany, you're no longer pure and white, and we don't want America to become a non-pure white country. Ben Dixon.
You know, Roland, as you laid that out, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the demographics of our community, and how, when you contextualize it for what you're saying, brother, how homicides in our community, and I was just arguing with AI about the abortion rate in the black community. But in context of what you're saying, as pro-choice as I am, and I don't want to go into all those things, I'm a super pro-choice, but I just see a percentage of blackness that has been cut off, and I can't help but looking and seeing that that's exactly what people like J.D. Vance and that lily white girl who was going up against Sam Cedar what they want. They fear more than anything else becoming the minority because they assume that black people will do to them what they did to us. Now, they better be glad some of us are saved, right? But we don't want to do to them what they did to us. We want equity. We want justice. We want inclusion. We want them to get out of our way. Let us build our towns instead of you coming in like you did in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and burning it down and killing us. And so they fear the rise of a black population, of black power, of the black demographic, the black vote, black solidarity, not just here in the United States, but globally with South Africans, no expropriation, or rather expropriation without compensation. Don't pay them a dime over there. As a matter of fact, also, don't send them here. Could you all send the Afrikaners back to Europe? We have enough white supremacist devils to deal with here in the United States of America already. That being said, I also think we need to look internally and say that every brother that we see getting killed, that's a family line that could have enhanced and grown our tribe. And every time we find ourselves in forced because of the systemic factors, the economic factors, the realistic factors that lead sisters to making that particular choice, as black people, we got to stop killing our own so that we can do what we know we have to do, which is to grow as a tribe in the midst of a tribe that wants to exterminate us.
Julian?
I'm troubled by a couple of things. Basically by the that white girl, somebody need to do something to her. And since I am now full-blown Christian, I won't say what it would be, but somebody need to do something to her. She has lost her cray-cray mind. But that's where we are, that people have lost their cray-cray minds. J.D. Vance has lost his cray-cray mind. Elon Musk with his South African behind. Roland, I hope we'll talk at some point about the elimination or the brother, the South African ambassador, because he said something that was mildly critical. They've expelled him from the United States. What we see is the fear, as you wrote very well in your book, the fear of a black planet. And it's not even a black planet. We don't want the planet. We just want our slice. And we want our slice. We want our opportunities. We want our possibilities. And these folks are determined that we're not going to have anything. And you see them. I'll tell you, Roland, my heart broke today. One of my best friends, Cheryl Poinsett Brown, her daddy, a couple years ago, we went out to Arlington where he was buried. You met my godchild, Matthew Brown, who's an AP reporter. And I just thought about how they must feel that the plaques to the black and women veterans were taken down.
Yes, but the black erasure is part of the focus on white identity. That's what it's all about. Let's erase the history. Let's erase the facts. Let's elevate whiteness.
And we have to continue. What I'm doing with some sisters and brothers right now is looking at the Saturday school movement, which you're a little younger than me, or maybe a lot.
I'm aware of it. Freedom schools.
Back in the day, we were doing that. We need to do it again. We need to make sure that our young people are able to learn us. Because like I said, when I heard that, literally, I was at Arlington when Brother Brown, Elijah Brown, was buried.
Yep.
The 21 gun salute. And I just thought, how must they feel?
Yeah, but again, though, it is, but we have to.
But we're also this way. The voice of America is gone.
Right, but I need to pull Omakongo in here because I got my next guest is waiting. Here's a piece that, again, Omakongo, that we have to just be mindful of. We have to look at these attacks through the lens of white cultural dominance. That is the goal.
Oh, absolutely. And just to tie it into where you started about him being the most racist president since Woodrow Wilson, I mean, it's adding up. Mm-hmm. It's definitely adding up in very short order. And really, at the end of the day, if to look at it through any other type of prism, you're always going to be lost. You're always going to be confused. You're always going to say, I don't really understand. This is America. This is supposed to be the land of the free and blah, blah. But when you just add whiteness to it, literally everything makes sense. And for us to continue to not, I mean, as a society, for us to continue to not do this while Trump continues to get more racist by the day. And, you know, I'm not an expert on Woodrow Wilson. I mean, I know what he did in terms of segregating things, and you know, he made black people carry you know, identity cards into like post office and all of those different types of things, airing Birth of a Nation and like, but Trump is taking it outside of government. You know, he's putting it into schools, into corporations, into police forces. So it's a wide reaching net in terms of what he's doing. He's not just limiting it to what the government is doing. And so I don't see how anybody could deny that. I don't see how anybody can argue with his racism, and too many people are caving in right now and they're not challenging it in ways that are sufficient. I love what people are doing at the Pentagon, but since they can't really speak up the way that they would like to, I'm sure they're fighting behind closed doors, but we're going to have to keep fighting every single day and be vigilant about this.
Indeed, indeed. So I just want people to understand, you have to understand the underpinning of one's argument to understand how to counter the argument. And everything that Tucker Carlson has focused on the last several years, Fox News is literally built on white grievance. From the beginning, it's been white grievance. You go back and study the history. Conservative, digital, conservative talk radio, it's white grievance. Mm-hmm. They love saying, black folks, you're playing the victim. They are the greatest victim playing folks you can imagine. They believe right now that they are facing more racism than black people. Yeah. But it's more than anybody else. Folks, just beware. You're going to see more of it. So prepare yourselves.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. And right now we're accepting investors in our $17 million round to revolutionize the future of social media. Today, for just $399, you can own 60 shares of stock in Fanbase at $665 a share. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and invest today. While the big platforms have grown too massive and disconnected from their users, Fanbase is building a platform where creators and users truly come first. We've already raised $8.6 million from everyday investors who believe in this vision, and now you can join them. This is your chance to invest in a social media tech company with over 1 million users that is disrupting media by allowing anyone to reach all of their following and monetize their content from day one. The market is changing, big platforms are failing to serve their users, and Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now. Invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the future of social media.